Oh hi. Germany, the state in Central Europe. The area of the territory minus 357,408.74 km. Population for September 30, 2019, 83,149,300 inhabitants. Also the 62nd takes the 19th place in the world on population. The second in Europe. In the world across the territory. The 8th in Europe. Germany, located in the center of Europe, is washed by waters of the Baltic and Northern Seas. Borders on Denmark in the north, Poland and the Czech Republic in the east, Austria and Switzerland in the south, France, Luxembourg, Belgium and the Netherlands in the west. On state system is the federal state as a part of 16 subjects, federal lands. Bavaria, Baden-Württemberg, Berlin, Brandenburg, Bremen, Hamburg, Hesse, Mecklenburg-Lobby, Pomerania, Lower Saxony, Rhineland-Pfalz, Saar, Saxony, Saxony-Anhalt, Northern Rhine, Westphalia, Thuringia, Schleswig-Holstein. A form of government, the parliamentary republic. The post of the Federal Chancellor of Germany since November 22, 2005 is held by Angela Merkel. CE. Since March 19, 2017, the position of the Federal President of Germany is held by Frank-Walter Steinmeier. CDs. Which performs representative functions in the country. The capital, Berlin. Official language, German. Germany, the country with dynamically developing economy. DDD volume for 2017 was free. 685 trillion US dollars. About 44550 US dollars per capita. Monetary unit euro. Being the world leader in a number of industrial and technological sectors, she is the world's third exporter and the importer of goods. Germany, the developed country with very high standard of living. The 6th place in the world ranking. She supports social security and a universal healthcare system, environmental protection and free higher education. Germany is one of the country's founders and the member of the European Union, the member of NATO, enters into Group of 7. About 65% of the population are professed by Christianity. The ethnonym German comes from mute. So in Russia called the foreigners who aren't knowing or badly knowing language and therefore mostly being silent. In the US or in Russian the name, Federal Republic of Germany, was used. Such form, for example, is used in the Big Soviet Encyclopedia. After accession in 1990 of the German Democratic Republic to the Federal Republic of Germany, the decision on the mutual arrangement of the governments of Germany and Russia not to decline the word Germany in the official name of state was made. Correctly. Federal Republic of Germany. But not Federal Republic of Germany. Reduction of Germany was actively used in the USSR and in the DDR and today is used in Russian. In Germany, an official language to use this reduction. Beard. It isn't taken and only the full form of the name or a phrase, the Federal Republic, is used. Bundesrepublik. When it is clear that it is about this country. From a toponym Germany, the asteroid 241. Germany opened in 1884 by the German astronomer K. Luther, and the element of the periodic table of Germany opened in 1886 by the German chemist K. Winkler, called northern part of Germany represents the low plain created during Ice Age. The North German plain, the lowest point, Neuendorf Sachsenband and Wilstermarsch d. 3.54 m below sea level. The surface of the North German plain kept traces of ancient freezing, a chain of low thin ridges and hills. The western part of the lowland is occupied by marshy lowlands, marshes which formation is caused by lowering of the platform. In the central part of the country, the lowland from the south is adjoined by the foothills covered with the wood, and the Alps to the south begin. The highest point in the territory of Germany, Mount Zugspitze, 2962 m. Across the territory of Germany, a large number of the rivers, the largest of which are, flows. Rhine, Danube, Elbe, Weser and Oder. The rivers are connected by channels, the most known channel, Kiel, which connects the Baltic and Northern Seas. The Kiel Canal begins in Kiel Bay and terminates in the mouth of the river Elbe. The largest lake in Germany, Bodenskoy, whose area is 540 km and depth is 250 m. Germany is in the temperate climatic zone. In the north the climate sea, to the south passes into moderate and continental. The fact that weather often has changeable character is connected with it. In the middle of summer it can be warm and solar, but the rain can become cold and go already next day. Really extreme natural phenomena. Severe droughts, a tornado, storm, a hard frost or a heat are rather rare. Average temperatures of July from +14 in mountains up to +22 C in valleys. Average temperatures of January from +4 in valleys to 5 C in mountains. Average annual temperature is +5, +10 C. The lowest temperature in Germany was 46 C. Such indicator was registered in the 20th century in the south of the country, in her mountain part at the height of 1601 m above sea level in the area with coordinates about 47. And then 12 L at the Lake Fontaines. In Germany there are 14 national parks, 19 biospheric wildlife reserves, 95 natural parks and a set of other protected natural territories and nature sanctuaries. The first mentions of ancient Germans appeared in works of ancient Greeks and Romans. One of the first mentions of Germans belongs to the 98th year. It was made by the Roman chronicler Tacitus. Old territory of modern Germany to the east from Elba, Slavic Laba, till the 10th century was populated with Slavic tribes. See in more detail. Polavsky Slavs. By the 12th-14th centuries these lands gradually were a part of these or those German state educations which were the so-called Sacred Roman Empire. In process of stay of these territories as a part of the German states for several centuries, local Slavs gradually were almost completely assimilated by Germans. This process dragged on before the late Middle Ages and the beginning of modern times, and in places, with the Slavic people of Germany which aren't up to the end assimilated, Lusitanem last still. After disintegration of the Roman Empire in Western Europe, the Frankish state, which 3 centuries later, at Charles the Great, turned into the Empire 800, was formed. The Empire of Karla covered territories of a number of the modern states, in particular Germany. However, Charles the Great's empire existed not for long. Grandsons of this emperor divided it between themselves. Therefore, 3 kingdoms, Zapana-Franxi, were formed. France subsequently. Vostok-Novgorod. Subsequently Germany. And the Median Kingdom. Soon broken up to Italy, Provence and Lorraine. Traditionally, date of foundation of the German state, it is considered to be on February 2, 962 years. This day the Vostok-Novgorod king Ottonai was crowned in Rome and became the emperor of the Sacred Roman Empire. This empire represented confederation of lands, German of land, each of which had the army and minted the coin. The emperor elected by council of electors was at the head of the Sacred Roman Empire. There was a body representing lands, the Reichstag. Each of lands was the class monarchy with Landtag. Such situation remained till 1806, when under pressure of Napoleon I existence of the Sacred Roman Empire was stopped and its emperor began to carry only a title of the Emperor of Austria. The number of the German states was considerably reduced. The Rhine Union, which was also the confederation consisting of independent lands, was created. The federal president, who the Emperor Franz chose of, the body representing certain lands, the Bundestag, was at the head of the Rhine Union. Bundestag. The Vienna Congress promoted further merging of the German states. Therefore, the German Union, which also remained confederation of independent lands, was formed of 38 German states. The federal president, who Kaiser of the Austrian Empire from a dynasty Habsburg was at the head of the German Union. The body representing lands was the Bundestag. Transformation of the monarchic German states from absolute monarchies in constitutional, transformation of Landtag from irregular meetings of representatives in constant qualification parliaments began. After the Revolution of 1848, the conflict between Prussia increasing the influence and the Austrian Empire began to be about to happen. It led to a war of 1866 in which Prussia won a victory and I attached a number of the German principalities. The German Union broke up. On August 10, 1866, the North German Union, the federal state with the form of government in the form of constitutional monarchy, was created. The uniform army and a uniform monetary system was created. In 1867, the Constitution of the North German Union, which founded Federal Council, German of Bundesrat, formed by heads of lands, and the Reichstag, German by the Reichstag, chosen the people, on a majority system in 2 rounds for a period of 3 years, as legislature, and a position of the state president, German of Reichspräsident, which the King of Prussia as the head of state was adopted. The majority electoral system in 2 rounds promoted the emergence of a multi-party system. At first the National Liberal Party in the northwest provinces of Prussia, the German Conservative Party in northeast provinces, the German Centre Party in the southern states of the Union became the most influential party. On December 10, 1870, the Reichstag renamed the North German Union into the German Empire. Deutsches Reich. And and the President of the North German Union in the German Emperor. Deutscher Kaiser. Growth of national consciousness of Germans led to blossoming of the German culture, science and philosophy. In the 19th century in Germany, such glorified figures as the composer Richard Wagner, the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, the economist Karl Marx, the writer Heinrich Heine, physicists Heinrich Hertz and Max Planck, besides many others created. Germans Karl Benz and Gottlieb of Daimler invented the car. Sigmund Freud laid the foundation psychoanalysts. In 1914 Germany entered World War I. On November 4, 1918 Germany was captured by an anti-monarchical revolt. Risen began to form at the level of the enterprises working councils. Arbeiterrat. On November 9 the King of Prussia fled to the Netherlands where he soon abdicated. The German Empire was proclaimed the German Socialist Republic. On November 10 the General Meeting of the Berlin Workers' and Soldiers' Councils. Volksversammlung der Berliner Arbeiter- und Soldatenrat. Elected temporary public authorities, to Executive Council of Working and Soldiers' Councils of Big Berlin. Volksausschuss der Arbeiter- und Soldatenratsbüro. Berlin. And Council of National Representatives. Rat der Volksbund. The last consisted of representatives of CDs and more left-wing Independent Social Democratic Party of Germany, which recently broke away from her, the Social Democrat Friedrich Ebert, Philipp Scheidemann and the Independent Social Democrat Güger Geist became chairman of the Board of National Representatives. Vorsitzende des Rats der Volksbund. On December 16, 1918 on last Imperial Congress of Working and Soldiers' Councils for adoption of the Constitution the decision to convene the two German National Assembly was made, as interim parliament the central office of the German Socialist Republic. Zentralrat der Deutschen Sozialistischen Republik was elected and the structure of Council of National Representatives is approved. On January 19, 1919 there took place elections to the two German National Assembly in which I won first place CDs, and on February 10, 1919 the law on the temporary imperial power according to which the Committee of the States Staatenausschuss elected by the land governments and the National Assembly elected by the people, the head of state, the imperial president elected by the National Assembly, executive body the imperial ministry, Reichsministerium, appointed by the imperial president, consisting of the imperial prime minister, Reichsministerpräsident. An imperial ministers became legislature was adopted. On June 28, 1919 in Versailles the Treaty of Peace between France, Great Britain and the USA on the one hand and Germany was signed with another, according to which defeat of the last was actually stated. The Western Prussia and Poznan departed to Poland, Alsace to France, Apen, Belgium, Saar was transferred under management of the League of Nations. The German military formations, owing to what an attempt completely was made to separate her from Germany, were brought out of the Rhine province. On June 30, 1919 the two German Constituent Assembly adopted the constitution that established the centralized democratic republic. The monarchy was abolished, the president became the head of state. Reichspräsident. Chosen the people in 2 rounds for a period of 7 years, at probably re-election. The government which was carrying out executive power. Reichsregierung. Chancellor. Reichskanzler. And ministers. Reichsminister. bore political responsibility to the lower house of parliament, the Reichstag. Reichstag. Chosen the people on a proportional system for a period of 4 years. The upper house received the name Reichsrat. The proportional electoral system promoted preservation of a multi-party system, the Social Democratic Party Germany, SETP, which took this position at the end of the monarchic period. Supporting the Constitution of 1919, the second in influence became the most influential party. There was a German National People's Party, NEP, created by merging of the German Conservative Party and Free Conservative Party, voting against the Constitution of 1919 and playing for the strong presidential power. The third in influence, the German Center Party, JA, supporting the Constitution of 1919, received a great influence. The Communist Party of Germany, CP, CDs, playing for the power of working councils. Some influence had the German People's Party, PPP, is more left than NNUP, is more right than CDs, supported the Constitution of 1919. And the German Democratic Party, DDD, is more left, is more right than CDs, is more left EMPs, supported the Constitution of 1919. And no, EMPs could usually form the coalition either with CDs or with NNUP. In the late 20s, the beginning of the 1930th, the National Socialist German Workers' Party, NSDAP, under the leadership of Adolf Hitler, which was gathered influence NNUP and forced out her is even more right. On July 14, 1933, in Germany, the one-party system was installed, all parties except NSDAP, to which the Chancellor at the time belonged, were banned. After defeat of Germany in World War II in 1945, the country was occupied. In East lands and provinces there was the Soviet Army in Northwest, British in Southwest, French in Southern, American. At the same time, the most part of East Prussia and Poland, practically all Silesia, back Pomerania and a smaller part of East Prussia passed to the Hussar. NSDAP was forbidden, her government was detached. However, the new all-German government long time wasn't formed. On May 8, 1949, the Parliamentary Council, Parlamentarischer Rat, created by Landtag, accepted, and on May 23 constituted the fundamental law of the Federal Republic of Germany, FERG, recognized as lands of the Western zones of occupation. Democracy was restored. The President, Bundespräsident, chosen. The Electoral College, consisting of deputies and delegates of lands, remained the head of state. The government appointed the President, bore responsibility to the Bundestag. Bundestag, elected by the people on the mixed system. The upper house received the name the Bundesrat. Bundesrat. Big powers also received lands. The mixed electoral system led to emergence of separate tendencies to a two-party system. If during the Weimar period of CDs and EMPs were allies, during the Bonn period, after falling of influence of the German Conservative Party, NNUP party receiver, and KPP, CDs and the Christian and Democratic Union, which occupied EMP's niche, became the main rivals. The Free Democratic Party, NDD, which arose instead of No and N, was included into the coalition with another. This constitution wasn't recognized as Landtag of 5 East lands, and regional meetings of representatives of East districts of Berlin, in which representatives of the Socialist Uniform Party of Germany prevailed.
CEP resulted from merging of communistic and social democratic parties, which representatives weren't invited in parliamentary council. Instead, on October 7, 1949, own constitution was enacted there and own president is elected. Next year, own two-chamber parliament was created. Own government is formed that laid the foundation for one more German state, the German Democratic Republic. DDR. In the same 1949, the management in CEP was taken in hand by Marxist-Lenin Group. Uncontested elections.
CEP and other parties, the Christian and Democratic Union, the Liberal Democratic Party, National Democratic Party and Democratic Peasants' Party, put forward the uniform and only electoral list.
Were entered in 1952. Sovietization of the country. Land division is abolished. The industry was nationalized. Is made. In 1956, the DDR entered the pro-Soviet military Warsaw Treaty Organization. Only in 1989, as a result of discharge of Marxist-Leninist group from management, CEP uncontested elections were replaced alternative, and on October 3, 1990, operation of the Basic Law of Germany was extended to East lands and the DDR was stopped by existence.
After the reunification of Germany, CEP it was renamed into the Party of Democratic Socialism.
DEADS. And I became all German, and in 2007 it united with a part of the left wing of CDs in Levy Party. Influence of Green Party amplified, with the last CDs began to form the coalition. Grand coalitions between CDs and CE began to arise again. The niche more to the right of CE from 2010 was occupied by Alternative for Germany Party. Germany has diplomatic relations with the Russian Federation, which were established with the USSR in 1955. The DDR with the USSR in 1949. Lands are divided into areas. Kreis and extra-regional cities. Kreisfreistadt. The lands Hamburg and Berlin on city districts. German of Bezirk. Areas are divided into the cities. German of Stadt. And communities. Gemeinde. The extra-regional cities on urban areas. German Ortschaft. Districts of lands Hamburg and Berlin for quarters. Ortsteil. The cities, communities, districts and quarters are divided into inhabited territories. German of Wohngebiet. The Bavaria has an intermediate link between the earth and the area, the administrative district. German of Bezirk. Legislature of lands or Landtag. Landtag. In Hamburg and Bremen, Bürgerschaften. Bürgerschaft. In Berlin, the Chamber of Deputies, chosen by the population. Executive bodies, the land governments. Landesregierung. In Bremen, Hamburg and Berlin, the Senates. Senate. Each of which consists of the land prime minister.
Then this minutes.
In Berlin, the ruling Burgomaster. In Hamburg, the first Burgomaster. And land ministers. Landesminister. In Berlin, Bremen and Hamburg, senators. Appointed by Landtage. Each earth has the land constitution and can adopt land laws on certain questions. Representative bodies of areas are Kreistag. Kreistag. Chosen by the population, executive bodies, regional committees. Kreisausschuss. Each of which consists of the Landrat. Landrat. And members of regional committee. To Rhineland-Pfalz there are also regional boards. Kreisvorstand. Consisting of the Landrat and regional assistants. Kreisbeamter. Representative bodies of the cities are city councils. Stadtrat. Stadtrat. In Hesse and Brandenburg city representative assemblies. Stadtversammlung. In Schleswig-Holstein and Mecklenburg city representative offices. Stadtvertretung. Chosen by the population, executive bodies, burgomasters. In Hesse, magistrates. Magistrat. Consisting of the burgomaster and members of magistrate. Representative bodies of communities are Gemeinderäte. Gemeinderat. In Hesse, Brandenburg, Mecklenburg and Schleswig-Holstein, communal representations. Gemeindevertretung. Chosen by the population, executive bodies, burgomasters. In Hesse, communal boards. Gemeindevorstand. Consisting of the burgomaster and members of communal board. Representative bodies of districts of Lands Berlin and Hamburg are district meetings of representatives. In Berlin are district meetings. Bezirksversammlung. In Hamburg, executive bodies, district administrations. Bezirksamt. Consisting of the district burgomaster. Bezirksbürgermeister. And members of district administration. Representative bodies of areas are councils of areas. Ortschaftsrat. Councils of places. Ortsbeirat. In Schleswig-Holstein, Hesse, Saxony-Anhalt. Councils of places. Ortsrat or Ortsbeirat. In Lower Saxony, Rhineland-Pfalz, Brandenburg. Councils of districts. Bezirksrat or Bezirksbeirat. In Saarland, Baden-Württemberg. Representations of districts. Bezirksvertretung. In Northern Rhine-Westphalia. Committees of districts. Bezirkshaus. In Bavaria. Representations of parts of places. Ortsstadtvertretung. In Mecklenburg Lobby of Pomerania. Councils of parts of places. Ortsstadtrat. In Thuringia. Chosen by the population, executive bodies, burgomasters of places. Ortsburgermeister. In Lower Saxony, Saxony-Anhalt. Burgomasters of parts of places. Ortsteil. In Thuringia. Heads of places. Ortsvorster. In Hesse, Rhineland-Pfalz, Mecklenburg Lobby of Pomerania, Brandenburg, Saxony. Burgomasters of districts. Bezirksbürgermeister. In Saarland, Northern Rhine-Westphalia. Heads of districts. Bezirksvorster. In Baden-Württemberg. In the judicial relation, the territory of Germany is divided into lands and districts. On everyone on one supreme land court. At the same time, the general, labor and financial courts are under construction on lands, and districts are groups of districts, administrative and social only on lands. Regions. Region, on everyone on one land court. And sites. Amt, on everyone on one local court.
The largest cities of Germany are Berlin, Hamburg, Munich and Cologne.
The following on the importance is the fifth most populated city of Germany and the financial mother country Frankfurt am Main, the most airport terminal of Germany. It is the third largest airport of Europe and the first in volumes profits on freight air transportation. The Ruhr Basin, the region with the dense population. Population 1954 card, 1972 card, 1990 card, 2019 83,149,300. The Federal Republic of Germany on the area is only a little more neighboring Poland, but surpasses her in population twice. For 2020, the population of Germany was people. As well as in many developed countries of the world, the birth rate in Germany is lower than the level of reproduction of the population. Since 1972, the birth rate in Germany became lower than mortality. According to 2013, from 8.1 million families with minor children, about 2.5 million families, 31%, had migrant roots, that is, at least one of parents was either a foreigner, or the migrant who took out the German citizenship, or is the German immigrant from the countries of USSR or Eastern Europe.
At the same time, the total number of families with minor children decreased in comparison with 2005, then there were 8.9 million.
According to official figures, in 2013 29.6 million migrants and their descendants lived in Germany, including 12.1 million migrants having the German citizenship. That makes 25.6% of the population of Germany. From them, about 7.2 million people are descendants of migrants and were given birth already in Germany. In 2015, the population share with migration routes made 21%. Including in group children till 5 years, minus 36%. As of 2016, in total, immigrants and their lineal descendants, including ethnic German repatriates, made 18.6 million people, or 22.5% of the population of Germany. As of 2019, by estimates of the Union, 13.1 million immigrants and their descendants, or 15.7% of the population of the country, lived in Germany. In 2015, demographic development was the following. Birth rate minus 8.98 per mil, mortality minus 11.26 per mil, natural increase, decrease, 2.28 per mil, balance of migration minus 14.19 per mil.
The number of country people, less than 10%, nearly 90% of the population of Germany lives in the cities and the urbanized areas adjoining to them.
Share of residents of the cities minus 73.12%. Population of the largest cities. Inhabitants. 2018. 2010-2018. 1 Berlin, 3,460,725, 3,644,826. 2 Hamburg.
1,786,448, 1,841,179.
3 Munich. 1,353,186, 1,471,508. 4 Cologne. 1,007,119, 1,085,664. 5 Frankfurt am Main. 679,664, 753,056. 6 Stuttgart. 606,588, 634,830. 7 Düsseldorf.
588,735, 619,294.
8 Leipzig. 522,883, 587,857. 9 Dortmund. 580,444, 587,010. 10 Essen. 574,635, 583,109. 11 Bremen. 547,340, 569,352. 12 Dresden. 523,058, 554,649. 13 Hanover. 522,686, 538,068. 14 Nuremberg. 505,664, 518,365. The vast majority, ethnic Germans. 92%. In lands Brandenburg and Saxony-Lusitsky Serbians. 60,000. Live in northern districts of the state of Schleswig-Holstein Danes. 50,000.
In the country there are 6.75 million foreign citizens, from whom 1.749 million Turks, 930,000 citizens of the republics of the former Yugoslavia, 187.5 thousand citizens of the Russian Federation, and 129,000 citizens of Ukraine. Since 1988, to Germany from the post-Soviet states on the permanent residence of profit of 2.2 million immigrants of the German origin of and 220,000 people of contingent refugees,
including dicks of their families, having made this one of the largest Russian-speaking diasporas of the world. The number of the Muslim population of Germany is 3.6 million people, though this number is sometimes challenged. According to some other data, 4.3 million Muslims, from them about 63.2%, the Turkish origin, constantly live in Germany. The official literary language and language of office work is German. Along with it, the population uses lower, average and Verkhnenemetsky dialects. 10 of the main and more than 50 local, which also residents of border regions of neighboring states speak. Dialects often strongly differ from the literary language. There are in the country also dialects in regions on borders of lands. Relate to recognized languages of ethnic minorities: Danish, Frisian, Lusitsky, Gipsian, also as regional language, the Low Saxon. Nizhnenemetsky,
language which since 1994 is recognized by the EU.
According to estimated data, to some extent about 6 million people, including more than 3 million immigrants from the countries of the former CCC, and their descendants, mainly from Kazakhstan, Russia and Ukraine, know Russian in Germany. Also in Germany speak on Turkish.
2.1 million.
Languages of the people of the former Yugoslavia.
Italian.
The migrants who aren't knowing German often appear in information vacuum and / or become dependent on information sources. According to researchers of OIG, Germany takes the second place in the world on appeal to immigrants after Shaw. According to the report on migration, in 2013 in Germany there arrived the greatest number of migrants after 1993. The number of the driven migrants in 2013 increased by 13% in comparison with 2012, and quantity of left only for 12%. As a result, to Germany drove people more than left. 58% of the migrants driving to Germany, citizens of the EU. The main immigrants, as before, since 1996, are citizens of Poland. After the entry of Bulgaria and Romania in 2007 in the EU, the number of migrants from these countries increased. Also, migration from Croatia after her accession to the EU increased on July 1, 2013. Due to the economic crisis, migration from the South European states of the EU, such as Spain and Italy, increased. In comparison with 2012, the number of applications for granting a shelter increased by 70%. Migration from the countries which aren't entering the EU is still high. Germany is the attractive country for students. People began the training in Germany in 2013. In 2013, visas to reunion of families were issued. Every fifth resident of Germany has the migration pass. Germany is the world's second country in popularity of immigration after Shaw. As of 2016, in total, immigrants and their lineal descendants, including ethnic German repatriates, made 18.6 million people, or 22.5% of the population of Germany. As of 2019, by estimates of the Union, 13.1 million immigrants and their descendants, or 15.7% of the population of the country, lived in Germany. Migration to Germany in 2013 over the countries. Only 1,226,493 persons. 16.1% from Poland. 11.0% from Romania. 4.9% from Italy. 4.8% from Bulgaria. 4.8% from Hungary. 3.6% from Spain. 2.8% from Greece. 2.7% from Russia. 2.6% from the USA. 2.3% from Serbia. 3 others. Migration from Germany in 2013 over the countries. Only 797,886 people. 15.7% to Poland. 10.8% to Romania. 4.8% to Bulgaria. 4.4% to Hungary. 4.2% to Turkey. 4.1% in the USA. 3.5% to Italy. 3.4% to Switzerland. 2.7% to Serbia. 2.5% to Austria. 44.0 others. The Church since 1919 in Germany is constitutionally separated from the state. The freedom of worship and freedom of worship are guaranteed by the German Constitution. Most of Germans, Christians, at the same time Catholics make 32.4%, Lutherans -32.0%, Orthodox -1.14%. A small part of believers belongs to Christian denominations, Baptists, Methodologists, believers of New Apostolic Church -0.46%, and adherents of other religious trends. Part of believers is made by Muslims. From 3.8 million to 4.3 million, or from 4.5% to 5.2%. Jehovah's Witnesses. About Carter 0.2%. Index of the Judaic communities. About a 0.12%. About 31% of the German population aren't religious, mainly it is inhabitants of territories of the former DDR. About 70% there. Germany was converted to Christianity at the time of Franks.
The Saint Boniface, who was the Bishop of Mainz and converted a considerable part of modern Germany to Christianity, is considered the Baptist of Germany.
Underwent martyrdom from pagans in 754.
At the beginning of the 16th century in Germany and Switzerland, Reformation of Church, which cornerstone Ulrich Zwingli and Martin Luther exercises were began.
Is a result of Reformation and religious wars accompanying it, of which 30 Years' War of 1618-1648 was main. Germany was divided into Catholic and Protestant, Lutheran regions. The principle of Cuius Regio, Aegis Religio, became the main principle, fixed in the Augsburg religious world. 1555. That the citizens of this or that feudal lord were obliged to accept his belief. Catholic or Protestant. Article 7. 3 of the Basic Law guarantees studying of religion as a usual subject. Despite the right of the state to exercise supervision of teaching, religious classes are given according to the principles of religious communities. Since December 12, 1999 in Hamburg, the law according to which, according to Article 7 of the Basic Law, the religious subject is obligatory for studying works. In Bavaria, religion lessons are also an obligatory subject at all comprehensive schools. The land authorities pay up to 90% of the expenses connected with teaching religion at schools. The estimates received in religious subjects are considered at transfer to high school. For Christianity in general, it is allocated from 7% to 8%, from total of hours of the school program. Several federal lands, namely Baden-Württemberg and Bavaria, in 1970 insisted on a Christian basis of education at public schools, having caused in the legislation that such values as fear of God and love for the neighbor were overall objectives of education. They entered also collective prayer. The Federal Court of Germany, in this regard, decided in several decisions that the state has to do justice to influence of Christianity on the general cultural values. Berlin, the capital of Germany. Meanwhile, during long negotiations concerning conditions of transfer of the capital from Bonn to Berlin, the first managed to leave in the territory most the federal ministries and also a number of the main major federal departments. For example, Federal Audit Chamber. Germany, the democratic, social, constitutional state. It consists of 16 lands. The state system is regulated by the Basic Law of Germany. Only form of government Germany, the Parliamentary Republic. Germany, the democratic state. All government proceeds from the people. It is carried out by the people by elections and votes, and also through special bodies of the legislation, executive power and justice. The head of state, the federal president, who performs rather representative functions and appoints the federal chancellor. The federal president of Germany takes the following oath. I swear to devote the forces to the benefit of the German people, to multiply his property, to preserve him against damage, to observe and protect the basic law and laws of federation, to honestly fulfill the duties and to observe justice in relation to everyone. If desired, he can add a religious formulation, yes, I will be helped by God. The federal chancellor is the head of the government of Germany. He directs activity of the federal government. Therefore, the form of government of Germany often still is called chancellor democracy. Germany has federal structure. It means that the political system of the state is divided into two levels. Federal, on which nationwide decisions of the international value, and regional, on which problems of federal lands are solved or made. Each level possesses own bodies of executive, legislative and judicial authority. The lands also have an equal representation in the Bundesrat. Legally, they have the equal status that characterizes the German Federation as symmetric. The German Bundestag, Parliament, and the Bundesrat, body of representation of lands, carry out законодательные and legislative functions at the federal level, and we are authorized by a majority vote and 2/3 in each of bodies to make changes to the constitution. Executive power at the federal level is presented by the federal government, at the head of which there is a federal chancellor of Germany. The political parties of Germany making success on elections receive public financing. At each party which is represented in the Bundestag within 12 years, the special fund which is completely financed by the state is created. An example is the Friedrich Ebert Foundation at the Social Democratic Party of Germany. After adoption of the Basic Law in 1949, the authorities of Germany repeatedly made attempts to improve a federal system. The first large-scale reform was carried out by the government of Grand Coalition, CE/CDs, at the Chancellor Mr. Heisinger in 1966-1969. As a result of reform, the interlacing of interests of lands and the federal center received new measurement. In the financial sphere, the principle of cooperative federalism, which will become one of stumbling blocks at the present stage of history of Germany, was entered. At Schroeder, 1998-2005. Government. The object to undertake large-scale constitutional reform of federalism was set to simplify political processes in the country, to make them more transparent for the population and less dependent on momentary party calculations. Reform was intended to redistribute powers between the center and territorial subjects of the federation, to specify legislative competence between the Bundestag and the Bundesrat, and as a result to increase capacity of the state in general. The number of the laws demanding obligatory approval of the Bundesrat was planned to be reduced to 35,
40% due to withdrawal of laws on the principles of administration of all lands from the mechanism of coordination with the Bundesrat.
That is, in the future lands will have to proceed from federal installations that assumes investment of Landtag with bigger responsibility. In March 2003, the Convention on Federalism Problems, as a part of the heads of land parliaments and heads of fractions presented in them parties, approved the Lübecksky Statement containing concrete measures for modernization of a federal system. On October 17, 2003, the Commission on Federalism, where the Secretary General of CDs of the time F. Meantefring and the Chairman of CDU and the Prime Minister of Bavaria E. Stober entered, was created. On November 18, 2005, the coalition contract of CE/CDU and CDs, Together for Germany, with Courage and Humanity, was signed, in which offers of data of parties on differentiation of powers and responsibility between lands and the centre were stipulated. On July 7, 2006, after approval by the Bundesrat, reform came into force. The package of innovations covers the following spheres. 1. Education. Now the flowing issues of education departed in competence of lands, and it will transfer directly funds from the federal budget. It excludes inappropriate use of the received means. 2. Distribution of income. Federal laws can't put before the cities and communities of a task, demanding from local governments of additional material expenses. If federal laws interfere in competence of lands, these laws have to receive the consent of the Bundesrat. 3. The higher school. Completely departed in competence of lands.
The Federation can participate in financing of scientific research, but only with the consent of lands.
4. Environmental protection. The Federation can draft the frame legislation, however lands can make the decisions departing from it. At the same time, it is necessary to consider also regulations of the EU on environment protection. 5. Budget.
Introduction of Pact of Stability on sample of the EU.
Due to the problem of debts of lands, eventual debt sanctions for 65% will lay down on shoulders of Federation, and for 35% on shoulders of lands. 6. Land legislation. The housing right, questions of meetings, associations and the seals, penal system, the legislation on hunting, shop hours, rules of opening of restaurants entered competence of lands. 7. Fight against terrorism. Exclusive competence of Federation. Federal Department of Criminal Police. Along with nuclear power, registration of citizens, regulation of traffic in weapons and explosives. 8. Public service. Competence of lands. On December 15, 2006, the new stage of reform of federalism started. Main questions unresolved at one stage.
Reduction of debts of lands, distortions in a financial relationship, Federation, lands and lands.
The key part of the problem is that all lands have to carry out all federal tasks, however opportunities at them for this purpose very different. Therefore, in the Constitution of Germany, subparagraph 2 of Article 107,
it is recorded that proportional alignment of differences in financial opportunities of lands has to be provided with the law.
At the same time, financial opportunities and needs of communities, for this purpose, have to be considered. There was a procedure of alignment of fiscal capacity of regions. That is a part of means of rich lands is redistributed in favor of poor, sometimes with injections and from the federal budget. Formally, federal state system in Germany has two levels. Federation as whole state and lands as members of the state.
But in reality there is also the third, informal level of a relationship of federation and lands, cooperative federalism. That is, along with horizontal self-coordination of lands, there was a practice of vertical coordination on an axis federation earth.
Participation of federation in land financing. Within vertical coordination, commissions of representatives of federation and lands are created.
The main problems of a horizontal and vertical relationship in Germany are connected with distribution of financial means between rich and poor federal lands and realization of the principle of equivalence of vital conditions. Horizontal alignment allows to help poorly developed regions by redistribution of income which the federation and lands gain in common.
Corporation and income tax. Similar situation causes many complaints, first of all from liberals. The NDD, Lambsdorff, who support decrease in a charitable role of the state. Agree with similar offers as well policy of other parties. For example, the Prime Minister of Bavaria Stoiber, CDU, demands regionalization strengthening, and the Prime Minister of Baden-Württemberg Teufel, CE, to reduce number of lands and to increase legislative terms. Briefly, their ideas on reforming of federalism can be formulated so: assignment to each level of the tax powers, transition of all lands to the status of solid financial units, reduction of horizontal alignment of land budgets, cancellation of the mixed financing, reduction of legislative competence of federation in favor of lands by restriction of powers of the center with such spheres as defense, law and order, human rights, foreign policy and frame regulation of environmental issues, economies and social policy. Significant restriction of the veto of the Bundesrat. The general principles of administration in lands were withdrawn from subjects of the bills demanding obligatory approval of the Bundesrat. Search of more effective model of federalism is complicated in Germany by three factors: aggravation of contradictions between poor and rich lands, existence of the competing projects of large political parties, and requirements of the European federalism forced to consider as experience of the states with decentralized management. England and France. An experience of federations. Germany. In foreign policy, German Chancellor K. Adenauer, 1949-1963, focused on the West, acted according to the slogan of the ideologist of the South, German liberalism K. von Rottig. Freedom without unity, then unity without freedom is more best. The European policy of Germany 1949-1963 as a ratio of the purpose and means is divided into two stages. At the first stage, since 1949 to the middle of the 50th, it was means by means of which West Germany planned to restore the economy, to create own armed forces and to achieve recognition by world powers. The foreign policy was pursued for the sake of internal. At the second stage, from the middle of the 50th on 1963,
now the domestic policy was pursued for the sake of external.
Germany sought to become not the just independent but strong state. The European military policy of Germany in 1958-63 was based on rapprochement with France, an Axis Berlin-Paris, and refusal of the plan of multilateral nuclear forces offered the USA. Signing of the agreement on the German-French cooperation put end on the centuries-old opposition of these states. Adenauer recognized the international management of the industry of Ruhr established by Petersburgski agreements, considering it as a basis of future Western European integration.
In 1950, Adenauer adopted the plan of creation of European Coal and Steel Community,
EXC, developed by R. Schumann. Adenauer also supported the idea of creation of the European Defensive Community, EDC, offered by U. Churchill. In 1952, the Bonn Contract, which cancelled the occupational status and provided Germany the state sovereignty, was signed. On May 5, 1955, the Parisian Agreements, the most important of which was an arrangement on the entry of Germany into NATO, came into force. Nevertheless, at the time it was impossible to call sovereignty of Germany full. Foreign troops remained in her territory. Germany was deprived of the right to possess many types of strategic weapon. In 1959 in Geneva there took place the Conference of Four Powers. The USA, Great Britain, the USSR and France, which ended with de facto recognition of existence of three German states: Germany, DDR and Western Berlin. One of important priorities of foreign policy of Germany is deepening of integration of the states of the European Union. Germany plays a crucial role in construction and the organization of the European structures. At the same time, the aim to dispel post-war fear of the country's neighbors of Germany and to make excessive the restrictions introduced by the Soviet occupational forces was from the very beginning pursued. Since 1950 Germany became the member of Council of Europe, and in 1957 signed the Roman Contract, which became the base of the European Union subsequently. Germany was included into the European Economic Community, EEC, and European Atomic Energy Community, EPATOM.
So, important results of the European policy of Germany in 1949-63 became recognition of sovereignty of Germany and its status of the important Euro partner and beginning of formation of bases of economic power of Germany.
Since 1964 Germany Dekov Group of 10. During Cold War the foreign policy of Germany was strongly limited. Reunion of West Germany with East Germany was one of her main tasks. Military political Germany was closely connected with the NATO alliance. In the territory of West Germany, the American nuclear warheads were placed. Modern Germany by right is considered the nodal center both between the East and the West, and between the Scandinavian and Mediterranean regions, the countries of Western and Eastern Europe.
With the accession of the DDR to Germany, the threat of use of the DDR as the base of expansion of foreign troops was eliminated, the risk of transformation of Germany into subject to use of nuclear weapon and also a dangerous game of the third countries on contradictions of the DDR in fact is excluded.
Until recently, the question of a possibility of use of the German armed forces outside the sphere of joint responsibility of NATO was one of the most disputable.
According to the Constitution, Germany has no right to take part in aggressive wars. This restriction is a subject of constant disputes.
Her armed forces stand on protection of sovereignty and integrity of Germany and the countries of NATO.
Only since recent time the Bundeswehr participates in various actions directed to peacekeeping.
It became possible after the decision of the Constitutional Court, which allowed use of Federal Defense Forces of Germany for the peacekeeping union missions, and each case requires the consent of the Bundestag, which still was given only with temporary restrictions.
At the same time, use of weapons only for self-defense is allowed. All attempts of various parties to achieve from the Constitutional Court of revision of this question were rejected so far. The German troops accepted and take part in permission of the following conflict situations. 1992-1996. The Operation Sharp Guard with use of warships and scout planes in the Adriatic Sea mines Yugoslavia. 1993-1995.
Operation of Forces of the Union in Somalia UNISOM 2.
1999 till present.
War of NATO mines Yugoslavia, the Operation Kiekor.
2002 till present. War of NATO in Afghanistan Operation ISAF. 2002 till present. Operation Enduring Freedom with participation of the naval contingent in coastal waters of East Africa and Mediterranean Sea. 2003 till present. With AWACS scout planes, with the right of crossing of airspace of Iraq, but without the right of occupation. 2005 till present. Peacekeeping in Sudan within the Operation Anis.
2006-2008.
Participation in the Armed U mission for ensuring elections in Congo. 2006 till present. Protection of coastal waters of Lebanon for the purpose of arms trafficking suppression. Within UNIFIL mission. 2008 till present. Patrol of coastal waters of Somalia within the Operation Atlanta. Counteraction to pirates. 2012 till present. Mission of NATO for protection of the Turkish-Syrian border Patriot surface-to-air missile systems. Body of the Constitutional Supervision, the Federal Constitutional Court.
Bundeswehrversammlungswerf.
Bodies of the Constitutional Supervision of Lands, the Constitutional Courts of Justice. Verfassungshof. In Thuringia, Northern Rhine-Westphalia, Rhineland-Pfalz, Saar, Saxony, Bavaria, Berlin. The Land Constitutional Courts. Landesverfassungsgericht. In Saxony-Anhalt, Schleswig-Holstein, Mecklenburg-Pomerania. The National Courts of Justice. Staatsgerichts. In Baden-Württemberg, Bremen, Hesse, Lower Saxony. The Constitutional Courts. Verfassungsgericht. Brandenburg, Hamburg. The highest judicial authority in criminal and civil justice, the Federal Supreme Court.
Bundesgerichts BA.
In Karlsruhe. There are Supreme Land Courts one step below. Oberlandesgericht, further land courts. Oberlandesgericht and the lowest link of the judicial system, local courts. Amtsgericht. The highest judicial authority of administrative justice, Federal Administrative Court. German Bundesverkehrsverwaltung. In Leipzig, courts of the Court of Appeal of Administrative Justice, the Supreme Administrative Courts. Oberverwaltungsgericht. In Baden-Württemberg, Bavaria and Hesse, Administrative Courts of Justice. Verwaltungshof. Courts of First Instance of Administrative Justice, Administrative Courts. Verwaltungsgericht. The highest judicial instances of labor justice, Federal Court on Labor Affairs. German Bundesarbeitsgericht, BAG. Courts of the Court of Appeal of Labor Justice, Land Labor Courts. Landesarbeitsgericht. Courts of First Instance of Labor Justice, Labor Courts. Arbeitsgericht. The highest judicial authority of social justice, Federal Social Court. German Bundessozialgericht, ABS. Courts of the Court of Appeal of Social Justice, Land Social Courts. Landessozialgericht. One on each earth, exceptions, Brandenburg and Berlin and also Lower Saxony and Bremen have the General Land Social Court. Courts of First Instance of Social Justice, Social Courts. Sozialgericht. The highest judicial authority of financial justice, Federal Financial Court. German Bundesfinanz, BBF. In Munich, Land Financial Courts, Financial Courts. Finanzgericht. Also there is a court for copyright, Federal Patent Court. Bundespatentgericht. Court for Office Discipline, Disciplinary Court of Treppendendendistrikt Nord. The most part of judicial proceedings is in responsibility of lands.
Federal courts generally are engaged in revision of affairs and check decisions of the courts of lands regarding formal legality.
Bodies of public prosecutors' supervision, the Attorney General at the Supreme Court of Germany. German Generalbundesanwalt beim Bundesgerichts, JEBA. Attorney Generals of lands, prosecutors of territorial vessels. Each federal land has the Constitution. The DDD loudspeaker in G countries in 1992, 2009, percentage of the level of 1992. Germany doesn't possess large reserves of any minerals. A rare exception of this rule extending and on all Central European region, coal, stone, the Ruhr Basin, and Bran. Therefore her economy is concentrated mainly on the sector of industrial production and services sector. The basis of the economy. From 70% to 78%. 2011. In different years. Is made by services, 28% production. Production of goods, machines and various equipment which are a considerable part of the German export is also developed.
Agricultural sector makes 1.5% of DDD, in which the same number of economically active population of the country is engaged.
with the DDD level 2. $811 trillion on PPS. Germany in 2009 was in the 5th place in the world, after the USA, China, Japan and India. Besides, Germany occupies one of leading places in the world on export volumes. The exported products are known in everything the world under the name of Made in Germany. On the standard of living, the country takes the 6th place in the world, according to the Index of Human Development. Share of Germany in world DDD -3.968%. Share of Germany in DDD of the European Union countries, nearly 30%. DDD per capita, about $40,000. Deficit of the state budget for 2006, 1.7%. Deficit of the state budget for 2010, 4.2%. Deficit of the state budget for 2011, 0.8%. Surplus of the state budget for 2012, 1%. Surplus of the state budget for 2013, €300 million.
The public expenditures in Germany make up to 50% of DDD of the country. About 70% of jobs and 57% of the made DDD are the share of the enterprises of small and medium business in Germany.
In the general DDD of the industry, it is the share -38%, of agriculture -2%, of services sector -60%. The shadow sector of economy is equal to about 15% of DDD. In 1994, national economy was strongly shaken by swindle of the dealer in the real estate Jürgen Schneider when his construction corporation was not capable for payment the enormous debts.
According to official data, in 2011 the average of the unemployed of Germany made 3.0 million.
7% of able-bodied population of Germany. Germany possesses high-performance agriculture.
On the volume of agricultural production of grain and products of livestock production, Germany concedes only to France, and on production of milk wins first place within the EU.
Germany, the country of mainly small-scale family farms.
The efficiency of agricultural production in Germany is significantly higher than the average level across the EU.
At the same time, Germany lags behind on average yield of corn and sugar beet. Agriculture plays the subordinated role in agro-industrial complex. The livestock production gives about 70% of products of agriculture. Cattle breeding, a primary branch of livestock production in Germany, it gives more than 2/5 all products of agriculture, and the main part is the share of milk.
Near.
The second place on value is taken by pig breeding. The self-reliance of the country on milk and beef systematically exceeds 100%, but on pork is less than 4/5. The cattle breeding of the dairy and meat direction is most characteristic of well-humidified coastal, alpine and pre-alpine areas rich with meadows and pastures, and also of the periphery of city agglomerations. Because of quite cold winter, the stall maintenance of the cattle is widespread. Pig breeding is developed everywhere, but especially in the areas close to ports of import forages, areas of cultivation of sugar beet, potatoes and fodder root crops.
Broiler production of eggs, veal and also pig breeding concentrate in large-scale livestock enterprises which placement depends on natural factors a little.
From the general production of grain in the European Union, it is the share of Germany a little more than 1/5, but it is allocated mainly with production of Ra. 3/4 collecting. Oats. About 2/ and barley. More.
Areas of cultivation of sugar beet in many respects coincide with areas of crops of wheat.
Forage crops much more than food, as a large amount of fodder grain, especially corn, is imported.
Nevertheless, the country took
2012 the 7th place in the world on export of wheat, 6.2 million tons. From fodder grain, the value of barley is most high. Some grades of summer barley are grown up especially for use by production of the beer, which is considered in Germany as national drink. Consumption per capita about 145 L a year.
The world's largest area of hop growing of Hallertau is located in Bavaria.
Cultivation of fodder root crops, fodder beet, etc. Corn on a green forage in a silo, lucerne, clovers and other fodder herbs is of great importance. From all of the greatest value has colza, which crops more than by 10 times exceed crops of sunflower. In areas with high natural fertility of soils, the main cultures are wheat, barley, corn and sugar beet. Poor soils of the North German plain and medium altitude mountains are traditionally used under crops of rye, oats, potatoes and natural forage crops. The traditional nature of the German agriculture significantly changed technological progress. Today most so-called easy soils, in view of their suitability to machining, with use of artificial fertilizers, are appreciated. For example, corn is widely cultivated also now on the North German lowland, where it forces out potatoes. The warm climate of river valleys, into mountain hollows and lowlands of southwest Germany favors to cultivation of such cultures as tobacco and vegetables. The last grow up also in the zone of Prielbsky marshes below Hamburg and near Spreewald to the south from Berlin. Fruit plantings are especially characteristic of hillsides of the southern Germany, lower reaches of Elbe near Hamburg, the area of the Havel Lakes near Potsdam and vicinities of Halle. Valleys of Upper Rhine, Main, Neckar and the Lower Elbe are famous for the gardens. Wine growing surpasses in products, fruit growing and vegetable growing combined. Vineyards are located generally in valleys of Rhine, Mosel and other rivers of the southern Germany, and also in the valley of Elbe near Dresden.
Primary branches of the industry are machine building, electrotechnical, chemical, automobile and shipbuilding, coal.
The proved reserves of brown coal in Germany made 40.5 billion tons. Generally they are concentrated in federal lands Northern Rhine, Westphalia, Brandenburg and Saxony. In 2002 Germany was the consumer of the electric power. 512.9 terawatt-hours. Largest in Europe. The government policy means preservation of non-renewable sources and use of energy from renewable sources, such as solar energy, wind power, biomass, hydropower and geothermal energy.
Also energy-saving technologies develop.
The government of Germany plans that by 2050 a half of need for the electric power will become covered due to energy from renewable sources.
Ratio of the main sources of energy in production of electricity of Germany in 2018.
40.4% raise. Wind power minus 20.4%, hydropower minus 3.1%, bioenergetics minus 8.3%, solar power minus 8.4%. 24.1% brown coal, 13.5% coal, 13.3% nuclear energy, 7.7% gas.
In 2000, the government and the German atomic industry declared decommissioning of all nuclear power plants by 2021. In 2010, the government reviewed plans of the previous office to stop nuclear power plants of the country till 2021 and decided to prolong work of the NPP till 2030 years.
Because of quixotic policy in the field of power, of the account for electricity for households in Germany is 40% higher than on average in Europe, I noted The Economist in June 2013.
The board member of the largest energy company in Germany of E.ON Corporation, Leonard Birnbaum, in January 2014 noted that expenses of citizens of Germany on the electric power are on is disturbing high level. The basis of the transport system is made by the railroads transporting about 2 billion passengers a year.
Their extent more than 39,000 km. Some roads are adapted for the movement of the high-speed trains Intercity Express. For the beginning of 2003 in Germany, 53 million cars were registered, including automobile. Highways of all classes make more than 230,000 km. Autobahns about 12,000 km. The merchant marine fleet of Germany has 2,200 modern sea vessels. Living wage minus 91.68 euros a year. The minimum norms on housing. On one person minus 45 m. For two minus 60 m. For 3 minus 75 m. And so on. 95% of the capable population of the country are insured for a case of rendering to them medical services and purchase of drugs.
Since January 1, 2019, the minimum wage in Germany makes euro 1,557.00 a month and euro 9.19 an hour.
Gross. Since January 1, 2020, the minimum wage makes euro 15.84 a month and euro 9.35 an hour. Gross.
As of the fourth quarter 2017, the average amount of compensation in Germany is euro 37.71.
Gross. And euro 23.15 net. In a month. The model of social protection existing in Germany. Does the name corporate continental, conservative or Bismarckowski? Is considered one of the most effective among the European countries. Germany was the first country which introduced the system of social insurance. In the 1890th years at Bismarck, 3 laws which formed the basis of this system were adopted. Law on insurance due to illness persons of industrial work, law on work accident insurance and law on disability and old age insurance.
1891. At the beginning of the 20th century, development of social insurance led to decrease in retirement age to 65 in the presence of 35 years of an insurance experience.
The early old age pension, from 60 years, was granted to minors with long-term length of service.
The modern model of social protection of Germany was created under the influence of the changes which happened in the country in 50, 60 years of the 20th century and changed as a result of coming to power of each new party. The concept of social market economy was developed for recovery of the economy of Germany after World War II.
Our political realization is connected with 50. Erhard's persons and A. Müller-Ermacher. The term social market economy was entered by Müller-Ermacher. 50. Erhard was the first Minister of Economics, and then became the Federal Chancellor of Germany. Under his management in Germany it was developed, and then the concept of social market economy is implemented. Not redistribution of the social benefits, but providing frame conditions of activity of individuals, promotion of their consciousness, independence and responsibility for own welfare became a social problem of the state. The German economic miracle became result of realization of these principles. According to 50. Erhard, the state has to render the social help in compliance with moral installations of society. The most vulnerable and lower income strata, disabled people, orphans, large families, pensioners. But to support the competition and to struggle with dependent moods. After resignation of the Chancellor 50. Erhard, in domestic policy the priority was given to Keynesian methods of economic incentives. The state undertook a role of the distributor of national income. During rapid economic growth because of the shortage of working hands, entry into the country of guest workers from Southeast Europe was allowed. In the mid-70s about 4 million people, 11% of labor, lived in their country.
It became the reason for increase in social expenses of the state that after all crises laid down a heavy burden on the state treasury.
The state took measures for immigration restriction that provoked increase in taxes. For restoration of economic stability, laws on protection against dismissal and tariff autonomy were adopted. It led to the fact that in the market there were only 3 large players: state, labor unions and employers. It weakened the competition and gave the chance to labor unions to demand pay rise, reduction of working week, etc. One more feature of this period is the aspiration of the state to carry out redistribution of income, not down, to reduce differentiation of society, and across, in the middle class. The modern model of social protection of Germany has the main characteristics: principle of professional solidarity, principle of redistribution, principle of relief aid, and principle of self-government of insurance institutions. The insurance funds operated on the equal beginnings by workers and employers are created. Assignments from salary according to the principle of insurance come to these funds.
The system establishes rigid connection between the level of social protection and success and duration of work. This model assumes development of a system of the grants and social insurance differentiated by types of work.
Unlike social democratic model, the corporate model is based on the principle of personal responsibility of each tick of society for the fate and position of relatives. Therefore here self-defense, self-sufficiency play an essential role. This principle is applied in relation to an insignificant part of needy sectors of society. The social help appears irrespective of the contributions made earlier and are financed from tax revenues in the state budget. The right to such help belongs to the persons having special merits before the state, for example, to the public servant or the victims of war. This principle is an indispensable element of a system of social protection, as the previous principles don't consider all insurance risks. According to the principle of relief aid, each person in need in the volume necessary for aim can receive the social help if he has no opportunity independently to improve the financial position. Control of the system of social insurance is exercised directly of the interested persons, employers and workers, that provides the fullest representation of interests of both parties. At the regional and local levels, three main subjects are engaged in social protection: national and local associations of businessmen, labor unions and state.
Division of the institutions which are carrying out social insurance on spheres of competences is characteristic of the system of social protection of Germany.
Separately, the organizations for provision of pensions, providing due to illness and in connection with industrial accidents function. Insurance on unemployment isn't included into the general system of social protection, and is within the competence of Federal Department on Work, that is carried out within policy of assistance of employment of the population. Financing of a system of obligatory social insurance, besides them, is also private, certainly, is made on the mixed system, from contributions of the insured workers and their employers, medical, pension insurance and insurance on unemployment, and at the expense of the general tax revenues in the state budget.
Special position is held only by insurance upon accidents, which is financed by contributions of the employer. At emergence at bodies of social insurance of financial difficulties by the guarantor of implementation of their obligations, the state acts that speaks about a special role of social security authorities in maintenance of stability and social justice.
At the present stage, the former model of social and economic development of Germany goes through stories crisis. The tax burden reaches 80% of the income of the population, high unemployment rate which has chronic character is observed, distribution of income is carried out inefficiently and opacally, the quality of public services doesn't conform to requirements of time. Because of aging of the population, his gain in 2000 was only 0.29%. Expenses on social security steadily grow. High level of grants for the unemployed generates dependent moods in society.
Against the background of falling of rates of economic growth, unemployment became a burning issue in Germany.
For the beginning of 2002, over 4 million unemployed are registered. The large companies, skillfully using loopholes in the legislation for reduction of taxes, often try to obtain for themselves privileges.
In the pension sphere, the policy of the contract of generations, when pension assignments are made from the income of the working population, was informally proclaimed.
Considering aging of the population of Germany, tax burden sharply increases, and there aren't enough means for payments from the pension fund.
Problems arise concerning those segments of the population which have no full-time employment and respectively have no right to insurance grants. At the same time, the level of the state relief aid is extremely small.
Therefore, these categories are forced to count on the local charitable organizations and public aid. respectively. The corporate model of social policy leads to emergence of double society. Among the European models of social partnership, of one of the most successful and stable is German. Formation of a system of social partnership in Germany originates at the end of the 19th century. An important role in Germany is played by traditions of interaction of social partners, experience of the frictionless solution of problems, high civil consciousness. To the middle of the 20th century, the system including insurance upon unemployment, the state measures for employment assistance, the negotiation mechanism between labor unions and the unions of employers, tariff autonomy, and so forth was developed.
The German model provides the conclusion of a large number of industry agreements that practically neutralizes negotiations at the level of the enterprise. According to the Basic Law, the Federal Republic of Germany is the democratic and social state, and by adoption of the relevant laws the state substantially defines frame conditions in the field of a social and labor relationship.
So, the state promotes creation of necessary conditions for resolution of conflicts, and legislatively distributes collective agreements to Nienizirvani, busy. The labor law of Germany also is at the high level of development. One of features of the German labor unions is that at the enterprises of Germany there is no primary trade union organization, and there is a trade union representative. It consists in Production Council of the Enterprise. Production Council of the Enterprise comes into contacts between administration and labor unions. In a relationship between employers and workers, these councils have no right to get up on someone's party. They can't organize strikes, and are called to advocate the interests of the company in general. Such production councils are in all branches of economy.
In Germany, 85% of all workers who are members of any labor unions are included into merging of the German labor unions.
Merging of the German labor unions, the largest. 6 million dix. And the influential trade union organization of Germany created in 1949. Merging of the German labor unions represents the interests of workers in the private and public sector, employees and officials. It consists of 8 industrial trade unions. Industrial Labor Union 8 Baunagrarumwelt. Industrial Labor Union Mining, Chemical Industry, Power.
Bergbau, Chemie, Energie.
Gewerkschaft Erziehung und Wissenschaft. Industrial Labor Union IG Metall. Gewerkschaft Nahrungsgaststätten. Labor Union of Police. Gewerkschaft der Polizei. Labor Union of Railroad Workers of Transnet. Joint Labor Union of Workers of Services Sector. Verdi. In the program, merging of the German labor unions adheres to the idea of social solidarity, that is, supports equitable distribution of jobs and income, social subsidies, privileges, development of funds of accumulation, fight against unemployment, equal chances of success irrespective of origin. Skin color and a floor, a share of women in ONT -31.9%. In economy of ONT support the concept of the socially oriented market economy, which is equitable to the interests of the developed public structures.
UNP is a member of the European Trade Union Confederation, International Confederation of Free Trade Unions, Consultative Committee at OLD, and presents the German trade union movement to the Union, the IMF, the UGO and the ILO.
Their slogan, "Keep the social state through reform." Among other priorities, it is possible to call development of infrastructure and public sector of utilities, quality maintenance of life.
The special role in it, according to UNP, belongs to the state.
Active state intervention serves as the guarantor of a social order and justice.
Unproposed general privatization and deregulation and call for redistribution of responsibility on regulation of the markets between labor unions and the state. It is necessary to limit privatization that citizens didn't pay for the errors of the state connected with sale in private hands of highly profitable business areas.
Public sector has to resolve also environmental issues and set norms in economic and social spheres. The role of local government in public life as forms of participation of citizens in policy is especially emphasized. Creation of the market of the affordable housing considering possibilities of people with low income, one of the main objectives of the state, social construction. Proximity, our force, claims about itself the German Union of Officials. DBEB represents the tariff and political interests of employees of public sector and private sector. The labor union totals more than 1.25 million dicks. This labor union is supported by 39 other labor unions and 16 state organizations. The name of the recent program of labor union, Future Calls, Creating Opportunities. DBEB states that it for it, people in the forefront, and calls for fight against reduction of jobs. Labor union position themselves as association of reformers. Reforms not through economy of means. First of all, rights of people. Each individual is important. DBEB, as well as UNP, supports equal opportunities for all, especially in questions of gender equality. For example, in DBEB, women and representatives of youth at the age of 16-27 years consist. In 2003, the Congress of the Union in Leipzig DBEB presented the reformist model of the 21st century program. It contains offers on reconstruction of public administration, long-term, friendly in relation to citizens. DBEB offers new model of career. According to education and experience, everyone can hold the appropriate post. Flexible working hours. Reform of the labor law about salary and working hours. Against slogans like, "We will increase working hours," "We will refuse public holidays."
Preservation of jobs for workers and employees. Protection of income of the population according to an economic situation in the country.
Distribution of working conditions of the West German lands on East German. High salary, social guarantees, the fixed working week, etc. The organization of work of employees according to the official right promoting success and labor productivity. The payment correlated to labor productivity.
Autonomy in negotiations on an occasion of salary increase and comprehensive employment contracts in the whole country.
High performance and humane management of the employed employees.
The labor union closely cooperates with the EU in questions of the labor law.
In 1991, DBEP participated in creation of the European Trade Union Confederation.
8 million dix.
Association of Christian Labor Unions of Germany. This labor union represents the interests of religious workers and officials. Association of Christian Labor Unions of Germany.
GIT. The third largest trade union association in Germany.
Under his supervision, 16 separate tariff negotiation parties of the most various industries, such as railroads, hotel business or agriculture work. GIT supports distribution of Christian values on labor life. In the GIT program emphasizes the GIT voluntary merging of independent labor unions. Main priorities of GIT: realization of Christian and social values in work, economy, the state life and society.
Protection of socially vulnerable segments of the population, public unification.
Freedom of the association/unions according to the Basic Law. Workers can elect any representative for protection of the interests. Promotion of trade union pluralism in Europe and Germany. The rights and freedoms of the person, the main value of the constitutional state. Against all types of extremism. The labor union also supports development of model of the social market economy combining advantages of competitive economy with social responsibility. GIT urges to develop social partnership of workers and employers. Personal productivity is a basis for fair job evaluation. Special attention has to be paid to people with limited working capacity. As for Christian values, Sunday has to remain day of rest as an important basis of Christian tenor of life. GIT supports the minimum state intervention in tariff autonomy. A task of Christian social tariff policy is ensuring fair participation of workers in social production.
The family is a basis of society. It is necessary to intensify social policy on support of the institution of the family.
Preservation and creation of jobs define the tariff policy of GIT. GIT excludes political strikes as means of upholding of interests of workers, and speaks out in defense of the rights of workers in participation business management and for a fair tax system, loading all public groups according to their solvency. Expansion of the European Community puts Germany before big goals, first of all in economic and social policy. GIT supports alignment of living conditions of all EU countries taking into account features of member states. Joint Labour Union of Workers of Services Industry. Totals over 2 million dix. The representation of hired workers was brought to life in 2001 by merge of 5 separate labour unions from spheres of economy. Financial services, municipal services, logistics, trade and media. Consists of 13 industry divisions and the extensive network organizations. Unions of local governments. The German Union of the Cities and Communities is created in 1973 by merging of the Congress of the German Communities. Deutscher Gemeindetag and the Union of the German Cities. Congress of the German Cities. German Congress of Rural Areas. Congress of the Bavarian Districts. After reunion in 1991 in Idida, usual polyclinics were closed and transformed to offices of doctors. Public authorities of healthcare don't play absolutely any role in health sector except for disasters and accidents. All university hospitals, clinics with hospital treatment remained in hands of the state. For ensuring financing, the German hospitals signed contracts with insurance companies and also receive the state investment subsidies from tax revenues. Thus, double financing, which is completely separated from financing of medical offices, praxis, is provided. Numerous reforms of the legislation in the field of healthcare tried to prevent threat of the approaching double financing of expensive infrastructure. For example, acquisition of the medical equipment, the culture of Germany includes the culture of both the modern Federal Republic of Germany and the people making modern Germany before her association. Prussia, Bavaria, Saxony, etc. Broader interpretation, the German culture, includes also the culture of Austria, which is politically independent of Germany, but is inhabited by Germans and belongs to the same culture. The German culture is known from 5th century BB.
The variety of culture is characteristic of modern Germany. There is no centralization of cultural life and cultural values in one or several cities, they are dispersed literally through the whole country.
Along with the known Berlin, Munich, Weimar, Dresden or Cologne, there is a set of small, not so widely known, but culturally significant places. About the village, Tauber, Naumburg, Bayreuth, Die Celle, Wittenberg, Schleswig, etc. In 1999 there were 45-70 museums, and their number grows. In a year nearly 100 million visits are the share of them. The most known museums, the Dresden Art Gallery, Old and New Picture Galleries in Munich, the German Museum in Munich, the Historical Museum in Berlin and many others. It is a lot of also the museum's palaces. The most known, Sanssouci in Potsdam, and the museum's Lux. Germany is rather well developed physical culture and sport. According to the German Olympic Sports Confederation, those in 2009 about 25–30% of the population of Germany, 24–27 million people, were members of various sports organizations. Annually the number playing sports in the country increases by 5–6%. German national football team is one of the strongest and most successful teams of the world. In her asset of 12 medals of the World Cups, 4 gold, 4 silver and 4 bronze. 8 medals of the European Championships, 3 gold, 3 silver and 2 bronze. And 2 medals of the Cup of Confederations, 1 gold and 1 bronze. Also the big tennis is very popular in Germany. The German representatives of this sport, Boris Becker and Steffi Graf, managed to achieve big popularity in the world. Also Graf at the moment is the tennis player only in the history who won the gold Grand Slam. Besides, she most longer kept the status of the strongest tennis player in the world, and in 2000 was recognized in Germany as the sportswoman of century. Also the motorsport isn't less popular in Germany.
The German racer and the participant Formula One Michael Schumacher became the first and the seven-time world champion still only in the history, and also is one of the most successful and famous racers of the planet.
The biathlon in Germany is also rather known. The representative of Germany in this sport, Magdalena Neuner, is a two-time Olympic champion, the three-time owner of the World Cup, and the only 12-time world champion in the world in biathlon. In Germany there are public and church holidays. Some holidays are days off in the whole country, others only in some federal lands, regions, and even only in a certain city. Augsburger Friedensfest. Many holidays have the long history which is based on ancient ceremonies and religious holidays. A number of holidays is reflected in calendars as festive and therefore the day off. The all German holidays are New Year on January, Easter, Labor Day on May, Rise, Trinity Sunday, Day of the German Unity on October, Day of Saint Nikolai on December 6. I am mute. Nikolostag. Christmas on December 25-26. Besides, each earth and the administrative unit having appropriate authority has the right to define and local holidays, such as Rosenmontag in Dusseldorf, Cologne, Mainz, Nuremberg, Epiphany, Day of the Reformation, and others. Carnivals and festivities. Oktoberfest in 2005. Oktoberfest. Walpurgis Night. Love Parade. Mera Luna Festival. Wavegotik Treffen. Festival of Nibelungs and Worms. Kiel Week. The German newspaper market is characterized by a small amount of national newspapers and well-developed local press. The reason of such development of the market of the press was the fact that the modern German media landscape originates in post-war years when the Western Allies, having closed all media existing in Nazi Germany, began to create the system of media, having naturally put emphasis on development of editions in own occupational zones. For this reason, national newspapers in Germany are a little, and most of them appeared after 1949, that is, after the termination of the formal occupational status of West Germany and creation of Germany. Conditionally, the press of Germany can be divided into three categories. The national newspapers, extending on all territory of the country. Mid-regionally newspapers. Abregionale Zeitungen, extending more than in one region, but not on all territory of the country. Local press, newspapers of one region, one area, the city, and so on. Broadcasting is conducted since 1923. In 1925-1934 broadcasting was conducted according to 9 district programs by joint stock companies. Since 1933, limited liability companies. Ostmarkenrundfunk, Schlesischer Funkstand. Since 1933, Schlesischer Rundfunk. Mitteldeutscher Rundfunk, Funkstande. Funkstand. Nordischer Rundfunk. Since 1933, Norddeutscher Rundfunk. Westdeutscher Funkstand. Since 1926, Westdeutscher Rundfunk. Südwestdeutscher Rundfunkdienst. Since 1933, Südwestdeutscher Rundfunk. Südwestdeutscher Rundfunk. Süddeutscher Rundfunk in Deutschland in Bayern Limited Liability Company. Since 1933, Bayerischer Rundfunk. The main shareholders, all of them, were the Imperial Ministry of Mail and the respective lands. Till 1932 among shareholders there were also private companies. They were shareholders of Reichsrundfunk Gesellschaft Limited Liability Company providing exchange of transfers. Since 1926 the Deutsche Welle Limited Liability Company. Since 1933 Deutschlandsender, shareholders, Reichsrundfunk Gesellschaft in Prussia. Conducted transfers according to the nationwide program. In 1934-1941 the Reichsrundfunk Gesellschaft Limited Liability Company conducted transfers according to 9 district and 1 nationwide programs, and in 1941-1945 according to 2 nationwide programs. Since 1936 it hosted also telecasts. Since 1945 the following Interland and Land State broadcasting organizations: Öffentlich-rechtliche Landesrundfunkanstalt. Work in the western lands of Germany. Northwest German Broadcasting. Nordwestdeutscher Rundfunk ends. In 1955 instead of it were created the North German Broadcasting. Norddeutscher Rundfunk and the West German Broadcasting. Westdeutscher Rundfunk DWR. Radio of Bremen. Radio Bremen. The Gießen Broadcasting. Hessischer Rundfunk Southwest Broadcasting. Südwestfunk SRUF. The Southern German Broadcasting. Süddeutscher Rundfunk, CD. In 1999 it is combined with Southwest Broadcasting in Southwest Broadcasting. Südwestrundfunk Series. And the Bavarian Broadcasting. Bayerischer Rundfunk branch. Consisting in the worker community of the state broadcasting organizations of Germany. Beim der öffentlich-rechtlichen Rundfunkanstalten der Bundesrepublik Deutschland ARD. Till 1984 2 nationwide TV programs were transferred in the Western lands, both were information, social and political and art. Preparation and release of telecasts of the first program carried out the land state broadcasting organizations, a technical part of coordination, the transmitting center of ARD in Frankfurt am Main, a creative part, directorate of programs of the first German television in Munich. Preparation and release of telecasts of the second program were carried out by the state teleorganization, the second German television. Schweizerdeutsches Fernsehen (EDD). Also land broadcasting organizations transferred into land third programs. The North German Broadcasting, Radio of Bremen and Free Berlin, the North 3 program. Nord. The West German Broadcasting, the West German Television. Westdeutsches Fernsehen. The Gießen Broadcasting, the Hess 3 program. Hessen. Southwest Broadcasting, the Southern German Broadcasting and Saarlandske Broadcasting, the Südwest 3 program. Südwest. The Bavarian Broadcasting, the Bavarian Television. Bayerisches Fernsehen. All of them were educational. Also each state broadcasting organization by 1984 transferred 3 Länder Interland programs, Also State Radio Organisation Deutschlandfunk transferred one nationwide program. Other State Radio Organisation Deutsches well-conducted broadcasts on the abroad.
Till 1992 in Eastlands the State Broadcasting Organisation Deutscher Fernsehfunk transferred one, in 1969, 1990, in 1990, 1991 one nationwide program again, and also by 1989 broadcasting of the DDR.
Rundfunk der DDD transferred 5 nationwide programs. Since 1990 is relayed the first and second TV schedules of Germany. In 1992 the German telecasting and broadcasting of the DDR were liquidated. Instead of them were created the East German Broadcasting of Brandenburg. Ostdeutscher Rundfunk Brandenburg Orb. In 2003 it is merged with the Free Berlin station in Broadcasting of Berlin and Brandenburg. Rundfunk Berlin Brandenburg RAB. And the Central German Broadcasting. Mitteldeutscher Rundfunk MRID. Instead of German broadcastings the German radio, Deutschlandradio, was created.
Since 1984 there is a commercial television presented by 2 programs adopted on the ordinary antenna, RTL and Sat1. Since the same year there is a satellite television which leading programs were 1+. Preparation and release of programs were carried out by the land broadcasting organizations. Since 1992 instead of it they together with the French joint stock company conduct transfers according to the art program.
And ScrubSat, FreeSat. Preparation and release of programs: the second German television, the Austrian broadcasting, the Swiss Society TV and broadcastings, the Body 5, Telly. Since 1988. Carried out Missile Defense 7 Pro. Since 1989. Since 1997, 1998 transfers of digital satellite television, and since 2003-2005, digital radio television are conducted. The quantity of TV programs increased. The land broadcasting organizations except already existing programs began to broadcast specialized programs of 1+, Eins the Festival, Eins Festival, Eins Extra, the second German television, Info ZEF, EDD Info, ZEF of Cultures, EDD Culture, ZEF Neo, EDD Neo. In common land broadcasting organizations and the second German television, Kicker, and Phoenix. Armed Forces. Germany, one of the most active countries of NATO, providing military political alliance during all peacekeeping operations. Afghanistan, Serbia, Macedonia, Kosovo, Somalia and so on. A considerable share of staff. The German troops also were a part of multinational forces of the Union in the Central and Western Africa.
Since 2000 foreign operations of the Bundeswehr annually cost to the budget of the country approximately 1.5 billion euros. On November 10, 2004 the Minister of Defense of Germany Petersbruck unveiled plans of reforming of armed forces according to which the number of the military personnel and civilians occupied in service of parts of the Bundeswehr will be reduced by
35,000 servicemen and 49,000 civilians will be dismissed. And 105 constants of military garrisons in the territory of Germany will be dismissed. along with reduction reforms of a system of completing of army and the basic principles of its application are undertaken. Since July 1, 2011, the obligatory military conscription of Germany is stopped. Thus, the Bundeswehr passed to completely professional army. Reform of the principles of application of army means reduction of strong points of the Bundeswehr in total from 600 to 400. First of all, it will concern bases of ground forces in the territory of the country. The Ministry of Defense doesn't see sense in containing hard armed parts in borders of Germany. As the area of possible operations of the Bundeswehr the whole world is considered now, the decision is made that it will be more correct to support military bases outside Germany, in the territory of the countries of Eastern Europe which entered into NATO, where the main shock groups NATO will be soon relocated. Brandenburg frigates. At the same time, terminology changes. Here it is supposed to place not military bases, but strong points of fast expansion and zones of cooperation in safety, that is, bases which will become a basis for fast expansion of armed forces of the minding terrorists and the hostile states. During reform by 2010, the German troops were divided into three types. The basic forces, 170,000. Billeted in Germany and consisting of divisions of management, logistics and providing. Rapid reaction forces, 55,000 people, which intend for conducting combat operations in every spot on the globe. Peacekeeping contingent, 90,000.
10,000 more servicemen will make emergency reserves under direct management of the Chief Inspector of the Bundeswehr.
Each of three cases will include divisions overland, military and air, the navies, the integrated forces of providing and medical and sanitary service.
On arms of army in connection with the above, heavy armored vehicles and artillery systems won't be bought anymore.
It is connected with the requirements of the increased mobility shown to rapid reaction forces. At the same time, Germany will buy 180 warplanes of multi-purpose use Eurofighter Typhoon. Body of Coordination of Security Agencies, the Federal Security Council. Bundessicherungsrat. Consisting of the Chancellor, the Chief of the Chancellor Device, Ministers of Foreign Affairs, Internal Affairs, Defense, Finance, Economy and Justice. Also far. Write comments. Read comments. Interesting people will tell interesting stories. All of good mood and good luck.